everybody. Thank you so much for watching. You can subscribe right here to get the latest from the show and check out more of the best clips from Up and Adams, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FanDuel. Big news. Big news, huge news in the NFL. Welcome to the show, everybody, here on Up and Adams, whether you're watching on FanDuel TV, FanDuel Network, YouTube, of course, whether you're consuming these clips on Twitter, like most of you do. Thank you for joining us. We've got this big-time news. DeMarcus Ware, Hall of Famer, on the show. Joe Ortiz will be here to break down the AFC West. And were they in on George Pickens? I don't know, but the Cowboys certainly were. Let's talk about it. The Steelers wideout going to the Cowboys, along with a 6th-round pick in exchange for a 3rd and 5th. There's a risk to this for Dallas, I guess. We'll get into there. Is there? I don't know. You guys tell me. What do you feel about this? Amari Cooper was out there. Gabe Davis released by the Jaguars this morning. The receivers are moving, and the market, people want depth. People want game changers. We need a little something for Dak. What does this mean? What are we going to do here? The Cowboys, I mean, Jerry kind of told us what he would do. We talked to RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys yesterday about a prophecy from Jerry Jones-Stradamus saying 2 trades are on the way. This was the first one. What's the second one? What do you guys think? As far as this one, outside of CeeDee Lamb, there really wasn't a ton of proven talent in that wide receiver room. Proven talent. There's some depth there. There's some nice pieces. I mean, George Pickens, what we know about him is that he is head and above almost all of them outside of CeeDee, right? He is in the talent department, in the skills department, in the high ceiling department. He's great. He is elite. He is what is going to complement a CeeDee Lamb and Dak really well, because Dak throws an awesome deep ball. And he's never really had a receiver on the outside with this combo of the size, the speed, and like I'm saying, this elite skill, I'm going to say it, to threaten defenses, especially in a really bolstered up, supercharged NFC East that bears the Super Bowl defending champs. Cowboys fans, let's listen to what Aqib Talib said about George Pickens back in December right here on the show. By the way, totally unprompted.
Pickens is soaring. He's now a top 3 receiver in our league. I'm going Jamar. I'm going Jettas.
Wow.
And then I'm going Pickens, man.
Wow.
I'm taking him over everybody. So, and I guard these guys. So
right.
I know what it looked like, hey. He is now popped his head up in the top 3 of the leagues.
And now he's popped his head up alongside Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, and that star on the helmet that comes with a lot as well. So Aqib Talib, saying he's a top 3 receiver. That's the skill. That's the talent that I'm talking about. This is an upgrade, obviously, for the receiver room. It remains to be seen what, the how do I say this? The detractors, or the people who would potentially scrutinize a trade like this, Matthew Hamilton, would bring up the fact of, hold on, if he's so great and the Steelers just drafted him and he's on a rookie deal, why on earth would Mike Tomlin and company ever bid adieu? Mike Tomlin, who is amazing, also known as a player's guy, also known, I think, as a relatively patient man as we wait on Aaron Rodgers, and someone who's, dealt with a lot in the past. There's this like sentiment, and I think there's enough to string together that maybe there's something, maybe there's not. It's not for us to judge, of course, and like it'll be up to Shadi to sort of figure it out, and we'll certainly ask DeMarcus Ware about it. But there are the detractors that might say the locker room fit vibe might be something to consider.
Yeah, and he's, we saw a lot of examples on the field where he was getting into the extracurriculars last year and mixing it up with opponents and things like that. Mm-hmm. And clearly, like you said, like we've seen Tomlin go through a lot of stuff with Antonio Brown and keep him around, and go through a lot of stuff with Le'Veon Bell and keep him around. And clearly the positives on the field weren't enough to outweigh some of the other concerns that they seem to have in that building right now. Yeah. So that is something that's going to be something to watch here in Dallas.
Or we don't have the full picture quite yet, right? Because there's a huge Aaron piece to this. There are some other, might just be part of the story as chips begin to fall. I'm curious if Joe Ortiz of the Chargers, the GM, the maestro there, was interested in him. I mean, he drafted receivers, probably not, but I'm so curious to see about that. And then maybe he's just a young receiver. Maybe he's just a young superstar, and maybe the Cowboys, and maybe he just really wanted the ball and wasn't getting it. And you know where he might get the ball? Down in Dallas, where CeeDee got a bajillion, literally 75,000 targets a game is what he saw. And I don't think that he would
Yeah.
be opposed to sharing some of that. So it might be a great thing.
Yeah, and again, yeah, you look at he's 24 years old, and
Mhm.
sometimes a fresh start, change of scenery can be a great thing for a young player that's got that's dealt with some
Yeah.
stuff like this, and a chance to you know just get a fresh start somewhere could be a really good thing for him.
What are the overlords saying?
Well, the overlords, the lines have moved here in the NFC East odds. The Cowboys were
Okay.
plus 650 earlier this morning to win the NFC East. That's gone all the way up to plus 500. So that's a pretty significant move there. They're now also favored to beat their projected win total of 7.5 games at minus 140.
Got it. And now this, okay, so guys, get over there. Well, minus 140, interesting. Go over to FanDuel Sportsbook. And that always sort of, it's nice context to what we're talking about here. The Steelers side of things, that, it's like Mason Rudolph. I also I'm a little bummed that I won't see DK and Pickens together, because if we're talking like off the charts highlight talent, like I would have really liked to see that. If you're Aaron, does this like entice you or does it detract you? I would say Aaron knows what he's doing, and everyone, I at this point, I mean, I don't know this, but they gotta know, right? They gotta know. He might be coming in the building knowing this. Actually, I don't know, but you got to think, right? What do we think? Like, there's the Aaron chip to this. If you're Aaron waking up this morning, did you already know this trade was in the works? Is this just a piece of a puzzle that we're about to see more happen? I don't know. But yeah, you don't move on from a 24-year-old high talent, high ceiling receiver on a rookie deal unless something else is at play or there's more part of it, or the vibes really were not vibing between the two of you. I do hope it's a fresh start as we look at those receivers, of course, on the Steelers. We just talked about the Cowboys side of things. I mean, they've got the all-pro. They've got the number one guy in DK. So whoever's throwing the ball will be super happy about that. I think we see another move coming, though. They're probably going to have to open up a spot and get Amari Cooper, who I think a lot of Cowboys fans would have liked to see return there. Keenan Allen's still out there. We talked to Chris Harris Jr., his former foe, about what he can still bring to a team, a locker room. And, unless they swing for like a Quentin Johnston, maybe they do, Joe Ortiz. Phone lines open for Quentin Johnston. If the Chargers want to move on from him after they decided to upgrade their receiver room throughout the draft, I don't know. Getting extra picks, at least for the Steelers side, it sort of positions them to make another move. So if Aaron doesn't happen and they get a Kirko Chains in there to meet the dad quota of the team, I don't know, like they can land him without much of a net loss in draft capital. Hamilton, do you have any idea, like inkling? Do you have any inkling? If we're sitting here a week away from schedule release, right? Like, what do you?
Yeah.
And this is like the question for Mike North and and Charlotte. Like, what do you do with this piece? Because Aaron's a hot commodity. Like, you'd like to trot out those Steelers in some extra primetime games. No disrespect to Mason Rudolph. I don't believe any's taken from Mason Rudolph. But this, yeah. Do you have any inkling one way or the other, like what this has to mean they're getting Aaron, right? And getting him an Amari. I don't know.
I still feel, I still feel like they are getting him, but you're right. It's an interesting conundrum now for these schedule makers as we sit a week out. Like it is the Steelers. The brand of the Steelers is obviously incredible and something that you want in these primetime games, but do they couch that at all with the uncertainty with Rodgers right now? Do they know something as they put all this together? And is that going to be, if Rodgers doesn't sign next week and we see how many primetime games the Steelers get, is that going to be more of a clue for us? That's the most fascinating storyline to me as we get closer and closer to that date.
I love it. I say, take your time, Aaron. Take your time. Make everyone sweat it out. Like, in 5 years, he wants to be off the map. He says, when he does hang it up, no one will ever find him again. So, like, enjoy this little last ride. I don't even think he's enjoying it. I think he's, like, dealing with stuff or, like, whatever. And hopefully that all works out and sorts itself out.